Oh, what up, Internet? What's going on, everybody? Whoa, little brown dog. Almost ran over the little brown dog down here. Sorry about that. Beanie Brownie. Okay. What's up, everybody? It's a Weird Tuesday show. Weird Tuesday show coming at you live, 'cause it's Tuesday. What's up? Glad to see everybody here. Thanks for coming out on a weird day, on a abnormal day. This ain't the normal day that we do the normal day thing, but hey, as you guys know, I was out of town, so we got to do a quick stream, to answer all of the Patreon questions. That's what's up tonight, and that's what we're going to get going to. Quick shout out to the Turtle Girl, first to the chat today, followed by Chris S4, and Noob Phobo, Oddball Aquatics, Nando Manuel, Ed's Fish, Joe Miller, Soggy Pitts is here, Oddball Aquatics, Fish Company, Devin Peppers, Nick is here, Jeff Rose is here, Daryl Dimer, M. Howie 9, Scottish Aquatics, Jed, Orzi, Malini, Victor, Ed's Fish, Susan for SLC Aquatics. Okay, I'm running out. Running out of steam, Running out of steam, so sorry about that. I'm not skipping anybody. I just got so many names to say what's up to. But good to see everybody here. Thanks for coming out tonight. We're going to get right to it. So anybody out there that's tired of this show being super long, this is the show for you, because we're going hot and fresh and super fast. We're going super fast tonight, my friends, because we're going straight to the Patreon questions. What up, Patreon? What is Patreon? I don't even know. It's a third-party hosted site where our community gets on and they ask questions, and I do the best I can to come on here live and answer them. You know what I mean? Booyah. You know how it is. You know how it is, you guys. I do what I can, mainly because of the Patreon. This is the whole reason. It's the whole reason. Whole reason I'm even here is because of the Patreon. All you patronizers out there, muchas gracias. And if you don't know what the Patreon is, you guys can run over there. Let me give a quick copy to the site, and then I'll post the link right there in the chat. There you go. You can check out the Patreon community whenever you feel like it. Go over there, check it out. You can throw up questions. You can do what you can. Thanks to everybody who's at $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month. Even the fishy mailman has got the producer credit out there, and I'm working on a video for him right now. Producer credit. There's only 5 spots for the producer credit. It's a limited time only. And it's the fishy mailman. But anyhow, Christopher Clark, if you're out there, asked, a plywood tank. Has anyone ever built a plywood tank and had success? I feel I could build a bigger aquarium if I used the plywood tank method because the budget is tight. Joel, maybe you could give your opinion on plywood tanks in the next Friday show. Personally, I have done some plywood tanks, but they all have been outdoors, okay? I do not recommend doing a plywood tank unless you're really experienced in the indoors. Grassy Peak said, oh, sorry, I didn't realize this was Patreon only. It's not Patreon only. I normally do the Patreon questions on Friday, but I was out of town. I had to go to Idaho to help out my grandma and stuff like that. I'll get to that at the end of the show today, but not to bore you guys, not to bore you guys to death. not to bore you guys to death, but we're going to be answering the Patreon questions. Hey, Grassy Peak, wondering if I could suggest a bulletproof canister filter. Sumps, bro. Sumps. Or you might be a female, but you're a bro, as far as I'm concerned. Either way, the bulletproof canister filter is a sump for me, 100%. And I professionally plumb them. It's the best thing that I can find. But plywood tanks, back to Christopher Clark's question. I have done plywood tanks many times outside. I definitely would not recommend doing them inside unless you have a ton of experience building them. Unless you have a ton of experience doing them, I do not recommend doing one indoors. It's not necessarily something I would say that's where you should start. I would say 100% start out where you can do some outside and then eventually get comfortable to do one inside. I've never found them to be that cost effective necessarily, but you definitely could save money. Personally, I've found the most cost effective tanks to build out there are glass tanks. I've built a lot of really big, well, I mean, I guess not really big, but I've built a lot of big aquariums out of glass, and that was really cost effective. As you guys know, I used to build those giant shallow aquariums. I always built those out of glass because it was really cost effective. I really was only out, you know, $150 in material to make these really big glass tanks. It's real cheap, and the $1 a gallon sale is evident of that. It's really cheap for the companies to make it. It's the cheapest way to go. But you know, as Jake mentioned down here, he has a plywood tank coated in fiberglass. I just bought a tote tub for a sump that was less work and money. Yeah, that would be definitely something that I would say to delve into. I would start to look into like a fiberglass tank or that kind of stuff that you might want to learn how to do. But I just, it's not something I would recommend to just jump right into a plywood tank and like put it in your living room. And honestly, they don't necessarily end up looking as great as anything else. But plywood tanks are always awesome for outside. Outside is a great situation to set up a plywood tank. You can build them out there. They're easy to get lined with waterproofing and all that kind of stuff if they're outside. It definitely is a way to go, in my opinion. So I've built them, but they were always like holding tanks for aquaponics systems and stuff like that. You know, but I also would kind of just, you know, if I was in the real budget, you guys, if I was in the real budget situation, I'd be on the Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, checking around all that, and you can definitely find some awesome deals out there if you're patient. You just, you know, if you have a real budget, like I certainly do have a pretty tight budget all of the time, that's going to be your best bet is searching around to find somebody who's like maybe relocating to another country or something and can't take their tanks with them. Steve Skoglund popped in earlier just to say he was hitting the like button, but he had to go to bed. He's been getting up super early these days, you guys. Mad props to Steven, working super hard. And here's some evidence of his hard work. He's cleaning all these tops for this big fish room that he's building out, which is amazing so far. Getting the progress updates on it is always awesome, except, oh my gosh, a big-time disaster. Realistically, glass lids are the bane of my existence. I've broken them so many times. I just normally get rid of them if I'm around them. As you guys know, all my tanks nowadays are out of acrylic, so... as Vince mentioned right here, he posted a link for those greenhouse panelings. That would be the best option that I would say to for a lid replacement. It's a twin wall polycarbonate, as you can see in the link right there. That stuff is fantastic. I'll actually be building some of those at some point in time, fairly soon, but probably not soon enough to be able to get a video out to you. But Steven is super crafty, and I think if he grabs some of that, he'll be able to make some himself. I'll be making some for Bentley Pascal at some point in time. I don't know when that's going to happen. The schedule is just amazingly full, so I don't want to make any kind of commitments to you guys that and say a video is going to come out in whatever sort of time. Oh, hold on. My lady. Sorry, my lady was texting me about breakfast snack bars, I guess. But I don't want to make a commitment to you guys and then not follow through on it. But that polycarbonate is pretty much the way to go, honestly, for some DIY lids. That's going to be just the best way to go. Jeremy Brown showing off some of his jungle val he's got going on from his 40 breeder. You know, I'm not saying that's giant size, but it's definitely getting there for sure. I love seeing great growth like that. That's always fantastic. Our boy Vince Grippa sent in an awesome post about used to not like the 6-gallon Fluval Edge until he cut the top off and made an awesome bamboo vase. Which, my dudes, if you have any bamboo like this, this is how you have to grow it. If you go fully submerged under the water, it won't last very long. With it up above the water like this, it's actually wildly beneficial for the plant, and B, your aquarium. It's going to help pull a lot of the crud out of your water column, and they're going to grow gangbusters out like that. So, and not to mention how awesome this foliage is. Most of our lady wives or spouses out there definitely appreciate foliage above the tank, in my experience. I might be wrong with somebody out there, but I've always found in my experience, if I have some foliage coming up over the tank, it's always a thumbs up from the Victoria. You know what I'm saying? Whoosh. Oh, Johan, be still my heart. Johan has been sending in some amazing pictures every single week of a different fish and a varietal. I am not going to try and say the Latin name on this one because I don't know it. But it's the saber-toothed barracuda, the vampire fish, vampire tetra, popular species for a big aquarium. I would love to have some of these fish at some point in time, but who knows whenever I'll have a tank big enough for that, because the 240 isn't even big enough. The 240 isn't even big enough for these fish. Amazing fish. I don't know when I'll have an aquarium for them. But maybe someday, way in the future, we'll be able to come through with something like this someday. But in the meantime, I'm going to definitely just, click the heart button on this one, because not only is that a fantastic picture, a fantastic fish, that's a double whammy. And Johan is like... he's basically batting 1,000 right now, because every week he's been sending stuff in, and it has been fantastic every single time. And definitely keeping my, he's definitely keeping my mind, he's definitely keeping my mind on the ball. Music Engine the 7th just popped into the chat, said what to use to quarantine Neo shrimp. Neocaridina is probably what you're asking about. Well, Neos, in my experience, you're always going to want to quarantine them in a separate tank, like a 20-gallon, something like that, set up on the side. I do have a quarantine video that just shows you guys how I set up my quarantine tank. I break it down when I'm not using it. It goes through all the ins and outs and stuff. But definitely quarantine your Neocaridinus unless... well, just quarantine them. Unless you're getting them from, someone like me who's had them for years and years. If you're buying them from the store or somebody you don't know, right, the best bet would be to quarantine them for about a month, because you want to make sure that they don't have any fungus or anything like that, bringing them into your colony. And that goes the same for any other kind of shrimp, realistically. You don't want to You don't want to go totally just straight into your tank, because it's a really good way to transmute a few things like Eleopsis and stuff like that, if you don't know, which is pretty common for imported shrimp. It's coming from some places out there. So if you buy them from the store, always quarantine them for about a month. The basic antifungals and all that kind of stuff is the main thing I would focus on. You know, we'll get into some of that here a little bit later in the stream too, which this is going to be a fast stream, you guys. So if you think it's going to be 2 hours long, you were wrong, because we're moving right on. Christine Parson says, quarantining shrimp. Check this out. Quarantining shrimp for the first time. Should I do anything special? I have the co-op trio on hand. If you do have the co-op trio on hand, that is going to be pretty darn good. I don't know where. Hold on a minute. We have to go back to scene 1 so that I can go here. Do I even have my links here? Hold on. Where'd my links go? Oh, there it is. So here's a link right here of what they're talking about. Head over to Aquarium Co-op. You can grab the Med Trio over there at the Aquarium Co-op. I also saw him in the. I saw Kobe in the chat. It must be late enough that he's at computer still grinding away all day. But you know, got that. So hopefully, I think I kind of answered that question. Quarantine him for about a month in a separate tank. Treat mainly for the fungus and stuff like that. And just put them into observation period. That's really what you're going to have to do. Make sure that they're eating. Make sure that there's nothing funny going on. And just make sure they're all together doing well, and you generally will be okay. But fungus is going to be the biggest thing that they're going to be coming in with more often than not. It's not the only thing, but you know how it is. Let's see here. Vince Grippa sent in a post. Hashtag no fireworks. That's not fog blocking these mountains. Luckily, no fires are within 100 miles. I just live in a valley off the Rocky Mountains that funnels a lot of air into it. Most of the smoke is from California and Utah. Yes, that is, I can tell you 100% that is exactly what was going on when I was out in Idaho. Wildfires, smoke, everything all over the place. Yeah, so, you know, my props go out to everybody fighting the fire out there. It is an impossibly difficult job. Hopefully there's no more loss of life, because it's pretty terrible. The wildfires is just out of control this year. Kelly Preston said, sent in a great picture, said, away from my aquariums this week, but between family and the view, it is worth it. And I will agree, this is a fantastic view right here. So I could see exactly what you're talking about. I want to go down to the end of that dock right there and then just do a little, how do you say, hippity hop, hip hop, hip hop. You don't stop a rock, jump in the water, right? And do a little bit of swimming around in there. That looks great. I don't know where you're at, but it looks great. Hopefully it's not too hot there. It is getting back to being ridiculously hot here again. And Wichita Falls Fish Keeper just popped in. I know you know what it's like. It's hot outside. That's hot out. Casey Summers says, exciting to catch a live stream. Normally can only see them if I get off work early. Yeah, we're doing a little late night here, trying to answer the Patreon questions and hopefully answer some of your guys' questions if we can do it in a timely fashion. I'm trying to go super fast today. Woo! Hopefully I don't get too winded and pass out. That'd be funny. That'd be funny, though, because I'm surrounded by heavy wood tables, so I'd probably knock my head for a loop. But either way, Elias Garcia Vargas loving this look here, but says he just got a new rack. Super excited to add more fish tanks. There is a little bit of a bend. Anyone know how to evenly distribute the weight? The extent of my carpentry skills is being able to sharpen a pencil. Okay, so these are actually food service shelves, of which I'm very, very familiar with. And as is noted down here in the comments down below, each shelf is rated for 600 pounds if evenly distributed, which it's not. Ultimately, these shelves are going to be a problem. I can guarantee you, those have definitely been, I have abused these shelves for many, 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 many years. And whereas they will hold some fish tanks and stuff like that, I do not recommend them. Mainly because these little NSF connectors right here at the end, this is the only point where it is being held, this little compression fitting with a plastic sleeve inside there. So if you think about it, you have like a fingernail's width of plastic holding into a little divot in the pipe, and that is what's holding each shelf on. And the more pressure that's going this way gives an opportunity for one of those to pop loose. Now, if you were to do that super low to the ground with like a bunch of bags of potatoes and onions on it, which has happened to me many times, it's not that big of a deal because the potatoes just fall to the floor. Not a big deal. Not a big stressor. You know, if your potatoes fall 5 inches to the floor, I mean, obviously you got to wash them more and that kind of stuff, but it's not going to break or anything like that. You got a 20-gallon on there, and it looks like maybe a 4-gallon or something like that. It's just not a setup that I would recommend. You might be able to get away with it for a long time, but they just... As much as I love these shelves and this shelving system, I don't think it's great for a fish tank. And, you know, hopefully you didn't spend a lot of money. Maybe it's something that you traded for or something like that. But I haven't found them to be all that fantastic for any kind of serious weight. These things are pretty much designed for just a bunch of stuff to be stacked on them. They're great for storage, but I don't think they're fantastic for fish tanks. So I would consider at least getting some blocking in here. Basically cut some pieces of wood that you could stack in between here in case if it ever does fall. But like I said, this isn't a recommended shelf for aquarium weight, you know, because even a 20-gallon, you start to think about it, it's like, okay, we've got, you know, 40 pounds of substrate. We've got 20 gallons of water at 8 pounds a gallon, plus a bunch of other stuff. It starts to really compound and add up. These shelves, in my experience, do not hold up that long just because they're spot welded wire and they just don't make it that long. Vince Grippa with a update on his #NoFireworks post. Picture from the same spot as yesterday, and you can't even see the mountains anymore. Yeah, if you guys are out there in the smoke, just be careful. It's more toxic than you think. It's more toxic than you think, and so just be careful out there if you're out in the smoke, and definitely don't light off any fireworks or anything crazy like that. You gotta be careful. Daniel Keeping Fish posted about some Elobiopsidae, of which I posted a comment on that one, and if you're on the Patreon, that post is for you. I'm going to skip past it on the live stream because, well, it's one of the benefits to the Patreonizers, so we'll just move on to the next post. But Hayley from Oddball Aquatics, I saw Oddball Aquatics in the chat, so hopefully Hayley's still here. She was smart and on the ball and found out that Mr. Gary Lang himself, whom I have had the pleasure of meeting, and I can't give enough praise for that man out there doing all the great work that he's doing. She went to her local fish club and bid up and managed to win some of, it looks like Bosemani might be written on there. I'm not sure what the eggs are. I could probably look. Okay, she covered up with her thumb what they are. But either way, they're going to be probably awesome fish. And she said she was a little bit stressed out about screwing something up. Don't worry about screwing something up. It happens to everybody. It's all a learning curve. Just do the best that you can, and hopefully it'll work out. If you really screw it up, don't stress too much about it. they probably wouldn't have made it in the wild anyhow. Maybe one would have made it to adulthood, maybe. But don't stress out too much about that, and also don't stress out about too much about Gary, because Gary is a super good guy, super nice guy, and he's really understanding. I mean, if you just threw him out in the backyard, maybe he'd be mad at you, but just an awesome dude, and I don't think he'll be holding it against anybody if they didn't have the best of luck or anything. But they're the best of eggs, I would say, stateside, that you could definitely get. It would be Gary Lang. That would be the best place to go. Chad Krotz sent in for a 40-gallon breeder, new 40 breeder glass with rim. Canopy is necessary due to proximity to the dehumidifier. Question 1 for you all, light advice for low-tech planted. Question 2, place said lights directly on canopy or raised suspended. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong thing. Sorry about that. Daniel definitely gave some good advice, that's for sure. If you're talking about lower tech, I would just be looking in the lower end LED lights at this point. It definitely is. It is a worthwhile adventure to go on. Sarah Baker says spend the money and get a Fluval 3.0. You can adjust the intensity if you need for the plants. It definitely helps out. That's one of those things with the Fluval lights. You can dim them all the way down. You can change the light spectrum on the new ones. If you could save up the scratch, I would go for it because it is a long-term solution for the lighting, and I would go that route because it just long-term it's going to save you money big time, and it's also going to be the light that you'll be able to use for a really long time. Not to mention the thing is there, but there are some Finex lights which are pretty good, and those could help you out. Maybe it's a little bit cheaper. For low-tech planted, I mean, if you're going super low-tech, you could find an old desk lamp and stick a bulb in it that is full spectrum. That could be about as low-tech as I would go at this point. Anything more low-tech than that, and I don't think it would actually produce light. But hopefully it's not falling on... but yeah, desk lamps and stuff like that, I did that for years back in the day, and you know, it just ended up costing more money realistically. But with the 3.0s now, you can actually turn the light up and down and everything. It might be about $100 for the one that goes on the 40-gallon breeder, but you're not going to spend any more money down the road or really question what it's doing, because as an app you can use on your phone and you can adjust things, and it's pretty cool. Rebecca M. wrote in, do you know of anyone who has a saltwater planted tank? It would essentially be one big refugium on display, but the idea is really intriguing to me as a planted tank gal with no reef experience. Danielle Sherry posted a link right there. You can go look at some macroalgae stuff. I don't know anybody personally who has a planted one anymore. I think Brian Murphy had one for a long time. I also just a bunch of random YouTube videos and stuff like that. I think if you just kind of looked up macroalgae aquarium, you'll probably come up with a couple of the good ones out there, but I don't know anybody in person that does it anymore. I used to work with a guy that would do those. I don't know what he's doing now. I haven't had any conversations with that guy in a long time, but he used to do them, and I sort of enjoyed them to a certain degree. But honestly, I feel like if you're gonna have a bunch of macroalgae and stuff like that, it's a great place to go in a refugium that's attached to the system. It looks awesome. Matt Weber, when we were in Michigan, he has an awesome refugium that's a separate tank plumbed into the system that's all just macroalgae and all that kind of stuff. And he's got a what do you call it, a brain fart, super angry crustacean. I can't remember the name of it, but he's got one of those in there. So I would say that's normally the best bet, would just be to plumb in a refugium and go that route, because as a display tank it doesn't work that great, especially if if you have a bunch of corals and stuff in there. It's not going to go that well, because it's different light spectrums for macroalgae and corals and that kind of stuff. So, but it's something you could definitely do if you wanted to. Vince Grippa also sent in a post, said, check out that sweet Patrick from SpongeBob SquarePants, which is somewhere back here on the shelf. It's hard to make out. Oh, here it is, right down here. I definitely, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Actually, when he posted this up, I was like, man, I need a Patrick. I need a Patrick from SpongeBob. Actually, this is the cherry shrimp tank at the local fish store. The melon sword in the middle has claimed its dominance over the baby tears. 2 months ago, he pulled a 5-gallon bucket of baby tears out of the tank, and the melon sword took off. It was only 8 inches high then. Yes, this is pretty much what will happen. I have Vince. I think Vince sent this in basically because I have warned people about sword plants taking over your aquarium, and this is a perfect example of it right here. The sword plants can completely take over. They get much larger than people think. Even a melon sword that is sold as a small sword plant can still just grow wildly out of control and large, which is awesome sometimes, but can sometimes be a big pain. But I wouldn't, just be cognizant of that. Like, don't buy 6 for your aquarium. Get 1 and grow it really big, and it'll grow babies too. Just be patient. It's not that big of a deal. M. Howie says mantis shrimp. Gillett says mantis shrimp. That's exactly what it is. I was having a brain fart on the mantis shrimp, but yes, Matt Weber has a awesome mantis shrimp in his refugium, which I posted a video up of it a really long time ago when we went out there to hang out. Speaking of going out somewhere, we'll be going to Minnesota. And I did get an email earlier about possible fish room tour that I might be able to do while I'm out in Minnesota. Luke Locken says, I feel like all my questions have been nothing but negative, so for some positive, I just put my first fish in the tank today. I got some, can never say this right, Melanistius Corydorus and some Autosynclus. I probably said that wrong, and hopefully you guys will all give me a hard time about it in the comments later. So far, they seem to be having a blast checking out the tank. The Corys seem to really like the sand. I definitely appreciate how you set this up, how you went about doing this. Perfect, Corydorus. I don't know that, well, perfect. I don't know what the word perfection is, but this looks fantastic for some Corydorus fish. This will give them an opportunity to feed and kind of root around and get ready, and just live in the tank and do all that kind of stuff. And I see you got an awesome heater. You got a sponge filter. You got some Java ferns growing on a log and all that kind of stuff. This tank's gonna be dope. And 6 months from now, it's gonna be great. If you keep working on this, and 2 thumbs up, man. I don't know. It looks awesome. And I love Corys. I miss having Corys. I don't have a spot for them anywhere right now, but maybe in the future. Oh, the future. The future. I don't know. Jared RB said, recent trip to the Tennessee Aquarium in Chattanooga. I highly suggest going. I highly request going. What's wrong with me? Highly suggest going. Yeah, next time I'm in Chattanooga, I am going to go there. Eric says that place is amazing. Best aquarium I've been to yet. Hope you went to Ruby Falls, a few minutes away from the aquarium. Oh, Jared grew up in Chattanooga. Learning something almost every day. Oh, man. But next time I'm in Chattanooga, I'm definitely going to that one. Mike Howie, Mr. M. Howie9, sent in this awesome post of which I kind of wish that's what I was doing today. I've been laboring out there in the hot weather, and things are coming along. Can't complain too much, but it's a poor comparison to possibly being out and doing some fishing. But he took a break from the fish room and went fishing with his dad. Unfortunately, there has not been a lot of time for fishing this summer. Yeah, I fully understand, man. I can relate to that. There's not a lot of time for fishing personally. I think Jimmy and I threw in I threw a line in the last day we were out. I was out with Jimmy, We didn't even catch anything while we were out fishing. It was basically one day. We did one little half day. It's like a half day of fishing, and but I'm still appreciative of it. It was great. I had a good time, and I would like to get more fishing in, but I got more conventions, and I got to go to Germany. I got to go to Minnesota. I got to go to Idaho. No. Alaska, somewhere else, I don't know. It's just getting busier and busier, which is fine because it's all good stuff. It's all stuff I want to be doing, so no complaints from me. James Hirsch sent in, the other day I was pleasantly surprised by Vietnamese white cloud fry. What would you recommend to take pictures of fry? Well, what I would recommend to take pictures of any fish out there is a lens like this. As you guys know, I mortgaged myself for the cheaper version of the lens that I've been trying to get for a really long time. I had some unexpected expenses come up and stuff, but having saved for a long time, I ended up going with the Tamron macro lens. This is a 90mm macro lens. This is the cheaper version. I bought it used from somebody else who didn't like it, and it has come in really handy so far. It was too bad I didn't have it for the Las Vegas Loop fish room tours that I did, but I'm happy to say that I have it in my bag now with me. I would recommend getting a good macro lens. Otherwise, utilize the cell phone that you have. The cell phone is going to be the other thing that is the best tool to utilize for taking pictures of fry, fish, stuff like that. Slap it up against the glass and just get it in there until you can start taking some until you can take a bunch of pictures. You can come up with something good on your cell phone. It's not gonna most everybody has one now, so the thing I would most recommend is to utilize a cell phone. If you have a good camera, get a macro lens and then just start to learn it. But I love having a macro lens. It's been a long journey to get one, and very excited about it, and I love taking pictures with it. It's something I love to do every day, but I just can't get to do everything every day that you want to do all of the time. Now, Aqua Stressed sent in. I always thought this was called Soswasotang, but I can't find info on it. Any info online about it? What is the most effective and efficient way to carpet this plant? Rebecca responded with the proper spelling of it, so you'll be able to find out some information on that. Aqua Stressed from Rebecca's post here, which is, she's usually seen it spelled Subwassertang, which is pretty much how you spell it. That's not how you say it, but that's how we say it in English. Okay. Or called round pellia, mini pellia, stuff like that. It's very slow growing. This is not a carpet plant. I would not recommend to try to carpet with this plant. It's not something that you could really pull off, but it is something that you can utilize to cover rocks, to cover pieces of driftwood and stuff like that. The way to do it would be to utilize the mesh method, is that you get some mesh with good gaps in it, and you can wrap it around stuff, or, you know, you can basically put the plant inside it, wrap the mesh around it, wrap that mesh around whatever you want it to grow on, and that's going to be the best place, the best way. But it basically will just grow into these like balls and stuff like that. So think about Marimo moss balls or something like that. It'll end up growing pretty much like that. Oh, we've gotten to the end. We're up at the top. Oh, it's not even framed in properly. Pretty good. But thanks everybody for chipping in on the Patreon and all of your questions as I scroll through them and probably freak some people out because of my crazy scrolling style. Let's go back to scene 3 with my face here, and we'll see if I can't answer a couple of questions before the end of the show, which is coming up in 3 minutes time. Whoop, let me see, make sure I go back to the thing here. Okay. All right, so okay. Easy, because we don't have any super chats. It's easy to not have to answer those. Word. Let's pop into the main chat here. Casey Summer says price range on the macro lenses secondhand. Really depends. The lens that I'm trying to get is actually in the Amazon wish list that I have. Is $800? No. It was $800. It's marked down to like $700 now. That's obviously pretty expensive for anybody. It's expensive for me. I can't even afford it. So this one I got here, as I said, I mortgaged myself for this lens right here. I managed to get this one for $425, which was, I know that I should have just kind of been patient and saved for the Canon one, but I really needed a macro lens for some of the projects that I was doing, and this one actually fit the bill really well. So this one might have come in at like 80% or something, and nothing's 100%. So maybe the Canon one's like a 95 and this one's an 80. But I've had really good experience with this lens. It does work quite well. But you know, new is $700 all the way up until there's probably a $10,000 lens out there. I'm sure of it. But this one I got for like $425, which was a lot of money for me. You know, I get it. The stuff's expensive. It's expensive to shoot really big, snazzy cameras and stuff like that, and I'm fully aware of it. But that's where we're at right now. I'm trying to just improve it and get better and better, so I could just put out better content for you guys, man. It's like my whole jam over here. I spend all my money trying to do better at this, which might be a bad idea because I don't know if I'm doing any better. I don't know. I'm trying though, and we'll just keep getting wherever we get going. Fire Blaster 123 says, "Can we keep rainbows and rasboras?" As far as I know, yeah. As far as I know, I've never kept them together. I've only ever kept a couple of rainbow fish personally, but I've had tons and tons of rasboras. I think that they would probably be okay. If Bentley is still here, he would be perfect guy to answer that. Rogue Aquarium says, and buying more tanks. Yes, as you guys know, we have a brand new 120 out in the garage. That's why I've been out there working all day today. I had to break down a 75. I had to break down an old sump, broke down an old stand. I built a new table. I built a couple of other things today. There will be some videos coming out for that. I don't know when, but breaking that down and setting up and moving a bunch of stuff around and trying to shoot video while I do it. So it's been going pretty well. I'm not super freaked out, other than with all the travel schedule that we got going on. We're going to Germany and stuff again. So just really trying to get everything kind of set up to a point where it's, you know, it's good to be able to travel again, which there's not a whole lot of days to get that done because I'm headed back to Alaska. So I got to try and go up there and help out with a bunch of projects that are going on up in Alaska, try and make a couple bucks while I'm up there so I can come back here and do more fish tank stuff. We got the baby on the way, so I always got to be trying to save money too while everything's going on. But you know how it is. You know how it is. Just living, you know. Let's see. Tips for building my first glass sump. I'm picking up a 30-gallon from Hunter Severson. Tips on building would be measure twice, cut once, obviously. Polish the edges of your glass. Learn how to do that. Polish those, sand them down. And then just be sure to clean where you're going to silicone ahead of time with a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and just prep where things are going to go, and lots of blue tape. You're going to need lots and lots of blue tape for the first time around to hold things in place so you can silicone them in. But I guess that would be the tip. Get the best silicone that you can. Get 100% silicone with no fungal, any of that kind of stuff in it. Make sure you get 100% silicone. It's going to take, you know, it's going to take a minute to figure that out. Wool Wine and Wet Sleeves says, my flagtails are vicious. Will it be bad for discus? Possibly. Could be possibly. You got to remember that discus come from really fast flowing water, and they are a predatorial fish. So most most other fish aren't going to be able to prey on them because they're predators. So they normally fight the good fight. They fight back. They're normally the ones that are hammering on other people. You just don't notice it during the daytime because they don't hunt as much during the daytime. Yeah, they're normally pretty good. If you have similar water parameter fish, they can do pretty well. Just make sure you're doing your monster water changes and keeping that going. Rogue Aquarium says diapers now. Yes, it's going to be diaper time coming up pretty soon with the baby on the way, which is cool. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for our baby girl. She started kicking around and stuff inside the human submarine that is Victoria at this point. Hunter Severson said, how close should the baffles be to the top? No more than, or, you know, you leave an 1 to 2 inch gap up at the top in case something gets over full. You want to make sure that there's enough space for the water to level out. You know what I mean? Leave a little gap at the top. Nerite snail tips from Ian Kuhn. Nerite snails are really easy to take care of. They're a big pain to breed. If you're thinking about breeding them, you're going to have to get a brackish tank. Get yourself some get yourself some ugly driftwood. Put that into the tank with the nerite snails. They will naturally gravitate to a brand new piece of driftwood that has been added to the aquarium. They will go in there, lay their eggs on there. You can take that piece of wood out, put it into brackish tank. You want it into a brackish tank to help those eggs hatch. But nerite snails are pretty low maintenance, pretty easy to take care of if they're full grown and you get them in. Just make sure you're not super hot, super cold. Super cold's not normally a big deal for them, but super duper hot, anything over 100, which would be weird anyhow, is always going to be a problem with them. Negated is asking, Joel, are you going to Corey? Or are you going with Corey to Aquashella? I am actually not going to Aquashella, you guys. I am going to the Aquatic Experience. Will be the big meetup, but I will also be at the Minnesota. I will be in Minnesota with Corey and Jimmy. So all three of us will be there, and I won't personally be at Aquashella, but I will be at the Aquatic Experience, 100%. My plane ticket's booked, my hotel room is booked, all that stuff is already paid for and all that jazz, so I will 100% be there. Maybe they won't want me to come in the door. I'll just hang out in the parking lot if that's the case, and just lurk around the building if they don't want to let me in, because I'll be staying in Newark right across the street. So worst case scenario, you'll have to come meet me outside, maybe, if they don't let me in. But last year they let me in with open arms, so hopefully this year they'll let me in with open arms. Maybe Fluval's going to pay him off and be like, don't let this dude in. Who's tripping now? Ha ha! Right? I don't know. Love Fluval, though. The Fluval's tripping is my joke. I love Fluval. They just never sent me anything to help set up my aquarium, so I always said they were tripping. Like, send me a light. But believe it or not, they finally agreed to help out with a reef light for the reef move. So either way, it'll be, they're still tripping. I love them, but they're still tripping. Jeffrey Tharp asks, will you or Corey be at the Aquatic Experience? As far as I know, all three of us will be at the Aquatic Experience. Corey, Jimmy, myself. Also, Bob Steenfot's going to be there. Aquapros is going to be there. Flip Aquatics is going to be there. I don't know who else is going to be there. I don't know, but I'll be there. And those guys I know are going to be there too. So, and I'll also be in Minnesota. I'm not going to be at Aquashella because I will be in Alaska. That trip is booked. I'll be up there building some barns and doing some work up there while Aquashella is going on. Aquashella wasn't a thing when the Alaska trip was put onto the schedule. So, you know, that came up after the fact. They were like, hey, we're putting on a thing. Do you want to come to it? And I was like, Cool, let me walk over and look at my schedule. Nope, not going to be able to do that. So I wish they had put it together earlier, because it probably could have just scheduled around it, but that's just the way it goes. Go with Kessel or Reef Bright. Cool, man. If I go with Kessel, I'm going to have to sell my house in order to handle that. And believe it or not, I did talk to the Kessel guy in person. Maybe someday I'll go with Kessel lights. I don't know. I haven't received any boxes in the mail with Kessel lights in them, so I don't know. Let's see. River Life, what's up, my man? Says $5 super chat. Thanks for the entertainment this evening. Love hanging with the community here, and a thumbs up. All right, guys, I got to get down to the end of the show here. It was way longer than I thought it was going to be, but much love to you guys. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the regular chats. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the share. Thank you for the whatever, blue, all that kind of stuff. And I hope you guys have a fantastic night out there. I'm going to go ahead and chat and holla at you later.